Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general mid-month reading for the sign of Capricorn, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the last 2 weeks of September. I hope you are well. Using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. I am well now, but I wasn't last week, and I have somewhat of a residual cough, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to get through this reading without dumping that on your ears, but if I do, apologies in advance. So, if you haven't seen these readings before, I'd structure them slightly differently to the way that I do the main monthly reading, in so much as we are looking for the lesson. I believe that there is wisdom, or a lesson, in fact, contained within every experience and interaction that we have. But sometimes we lose sight of that because we get bogged down with the day-to-day minutiae of living in this 3D plane. So, this is an exercise in perspective. It's about pulling out, looking at the energy that you're in at the moment, and then working out why you are there in the first place. When sometimes it's trying to teach you something about yourself. Other times it's preparing a situation, closing out old things, bringing in new things. Until the cards hit the table, we won't quite know. So to that end, what I will do is pull 3 cards for your current energy, 3 cards for why you are here, and then 3 cards of advice. And I will try not to pull any clarifiers so that we can keep these a little bit shorter, but sometimes I break my own rules. So I hope that all makes sense. What else do I have to tell you? Oh, the 6-month overviews that I did for each of the signs. They run from July to December. They are... we are rather a third of the way through that period now, so I have accordingly reduced the price by a third. If you have not seen those and you're interested in checking them out, the link is in the description box, and they run to like 2.5 hours long. I think that they're worth it, and at this point I just want people to hear the messages that came out in it, so that's there for you if you want it. And obviously if you're on Patreon, you get access to that sort of thing at no extra cost. So with all of that out of the way, let's have a look and see what is going on with Capricorn, please. Thank you. We have the King of Wands as your very first card. That's Leo energy. We have the Wheel of Fortune and we have the Hermit. That's an intriguing set of cards there. 4 of Cups has fallen out to the side, but I'm not going to take it. I'm just going to show you that it was there. That's a feeling of rejection, or it can be rejecting, it can be that sense of being taken for granted, or being aware that you are taking a situation for granted, whichever way it applies for you. This King of Wands is, like I said, it's Leo energy, but it could be Sagittarius and it could be Aries, or it could be neither. It could be an energy, and if it's an energy, it's a really good one, because this is an energy of getting things done. See him there. This is a very handsome King of Wands. And between his hands there, atop the campfire, the flames are kind of licked into a lemniscate pattern. I don't know if you can see it there. I don't know if you can see it. You see it? It's the symbol for infinity, right? The 8 on its side. And it is the potential of any action that you take, an action that is free of attachment to results, too much investment in the end result rather than the process that gets you there, right? The one's suit is all very present. It's the here and now. It is what you are doing in the here and now. Because it's the King of Wands, it's masculine energy rather than referring to a man, right? So it's an energy of high activity. But I want to say and maybe. What's really interesting is this Wheel of Fortune here. Now, the Wheel of Fortune is often given, it's often depicted as an actual wheel, it's like a cartwheel or whatever. And sometimes you're riding it down and sometimes you're riding it up. And the idea is to become not too invested in it either way. It's about staying present and taking the lessons from it. when you're going down, and then, you know, not getting too over exuberant about the going up so much that you crash on the way back down again. You know, things are a constant cycle. But there's something a little more convoluted in this one here, right? We don't have a clear circle that's just rotating. What we have is a spiral. We've got an intricate web of things going on. And it's an indication for me that I think no matter how well you plan in advance, sometimes life throws you curveballs. And at this point, I don't feel like the curveball is particularly negative for you, although it sometimes has those connotations when we say that thing. It feels like it could be positive or negative, depending on what you take from it in front of you, right? So we've got you in a high energy state at the moment, a King of Wands, you know, doing, very much doing, probably working very hard, actually. And then we have this curveball. But the other thing that the Wheel of Fortune talks about for me is a teaching moment, right? A true, profound teaching moment. 10, as the Wheel of Fortune is numbered, is often given to indicate completion. And obviously it's not completion in the major arcana, because you have another 12 cards that sit on the other side of that. But it is in some ways a checkpoint, you know? It's kind of that moment where something clicks with you, you know, and the penny drops and you're like, oh, I see. And whatever you're doing at the moment, it seems to be pushing you inexorably towards this hermit energy. I don't feel like you've been headed that way of your own volition, but there's something about the circumstances that you find yourself in at the moment that is pushing you towards the hermit energy. Now, Capricorn, probably above all other signs, value their privacy and value their solitude, right? It's necessary for them. And that's, you know, that's important. It's good. And we could see the hermit indicating that. But it feels more like a solo journey, and it's a solo journey of the internal that seems to be indicated here. Because for all your time alone and your peace and quiet is very important to you. I've said before, where often, even though you are detached away from other people, that time in solitude is not spent often contemplating your navel. It is not spent considering things about you inside that require attention. Like, you know, sometimes you'll fill your brain with all sorts of things. You'll read loads of books, play games, you know, spend a lot of time on your phone, specifically to avoid this kind of journey that seems to be barreling towards you, whether you like it or not, or may in fact be right in front of you. Tell me about this hermit here. What's the hermit here? Ooh. We have the Knight of Swords and we have Death. That's Gemini and Scorpio energy, respectively. But as they're sitting here, they're facing away from each other. And this is interesting because your transformation is this way, but it seems like all your mental energy is that way. And whether this is, you know, past and future or whatever, I'm not sure. But it seems like life is trying to pull you this way and you are trying to keep your mind over here. I don't think it's going to fly for much longer because we've got the Fool at the bottom of the deck. You're being called to start anew in something. You're being called to release yourself. You're being called to trust something. And maybe what it is that you're being called to trust, Capricorn, is yourself. Now, there are lots of ways in which you trust yourself very successfully. You know, like Capricorns are incredible achievers, you know? And you know exactly what it is that you can achieve in a work spectrum. On an emotional front, sometimes a little less. often, a little less. And there could have been times in the past, Capricorn, where your emotions have tripped you up spectacularly. And in the process of picking yourself back up from that, then often what results from that kind of situation is a resolve not to allow your emotions to trip you up. But instead of going, so I'm going to sit with my emotions and work out what is wrong, it's like, I'm going to put these emotions in a box and I'm going to put them under the bed and I'm not going to pay attention to them anymore. There's the Knight of Swords. Yeah, let's see, we've got the Ten of Pentacles. It's come out there. And so this is what the Knight of Swords is rushing towards. Stability, security, you know, commitment, like material well-being. Those things that are very, very important to earth signs and important altogether, right? You know, it's no good being super, super spiritual if you're living under a bridge somewhere, right? Or maybe it is, I don't know. But it's not good for your physical body, at least. But we've got the Three of Swords at the bottom of the deck here. What's this hiding under here? And we have the Three of Cups behind that. Now, the Three of Cups was face down. Like, you don't want to touch that. You don't want to go anywhere near that. And that, for me, is my card of external emotional support networks, right? Your friends, your family, the people that you rely on, the people who nurture your soul. Face down with the Three of Swords on top of it. And the face down is on the Five of Swords. It suggests to me that there's something about the way that you interact with the people around you who are supposed to be important to you that doesn't quite honor the depth of the relationships, right? And it's because of this. It's because of this avoidance of this and this constant focus on this here, right? You are being called to transform, Capricorn, and I can only assume that there's something that you're intuiting about this whole situation. I think Capricorns are vastly underrated intuitives, actually. I really, really do. But there's frenzied activity here that seems almost like it's trying to avoid you looking at these. It's trying to avoid the Hermit, it's trying to avoid death. And the problem is that it's actually driving you closer to needing to deal with it, Capricorn, than it might have been if you'd just been a bit more relaxed about the situation. The Wheel of Fortune usually contains within it a surprise of some sort. Yeah? I mean, for some of you, these could be different characters, in which case, you know, there could be a Leo who is important, there could be a Virgo who is important, a Gemini, a Scorpio, but not necessarily, or Sagittarius as well, with the Wheel of Fortune, but not necessarily, because this could all be entirely energetic. The thing is, the universe is not going to take you focusing on material things right now. It wants you focused on your own personal transformation, your own inner journey here. And it seems like the more frenzied your activity and trying to focus on anything else, the closer you are bringing this to your door. Now, the Tower is not here, but I'm starting to get echoes of it. I can feel it kind of nibbling away at the edges of this reading. Tell me about this Wheel of Fortune, please. Three of Pentacles and the Eight of Swords. The Eight of Swords is mental limitation, your own mental limitation. And then anxiety and worry and overthinking as it relates to you trying to build things, you know? Oh my God, my stomach just gurgled really loudly. How embarrassing. What do we have under here? Seven of Swords, followed by the Six of Pentacles and the Two of Pentacles. Both cards that, there it is. Six of Pentacles, Two of Pentacles. And then there was a card face down. And it's the Tower, like it's deep. It's underneath here, but it's there. I knew I could feel it. It was there somewhere. Now the Seven of Swords is all about deception. I don't feel like it's the deception of other people. I think it's the ways in which you are deceiving yourself about some things. And you're kind of being asked to bring all of this shit into alignment. Like the more you ignore something, the louder it's going to start banging on your door, right? What you resist persists. If you spent some time with these emotions, which are pretty, up and down in the background here, it's just this dude's just focusing on the pentacles. It's just like, I got to keep these pentacles up in the air. I'm going to ignore the fact that there's a fucking, tsunami behind me that's actually just wiping out ships and stuff. The Tower's here. The Tower's coming. It's this other card that was down here. But we've got the Ace of Pentacles behind it, and that's a beautiful combination there, Capricorn, and it should give you some comfort. Because when anything's taken out of your life, when anything ends abruptly, as the Tower does, and it is very sudden, shocking energy, it is clearing space, right? The death energy here is also about clearing space. You are being asked to clear space, to let new things come through, right? We've got the Ace of Pentacles with the Knight of Wands and the Strength card there, right? Sagittarius and Leo energy again, but new opportunities, right? New ways, new pentacles. Like the pentacles that you've got are a bit rusty, right? They're not holding their value in the way that they used to. The things that were important to you, that used to be important to you, are shifting and changing and slipping around in front of you now, and it's almost like you're trying to hold on to what was an old version of value to you, whilst being presented with situations that are showing you that it is not like that anymore. Like there are more things out there, more important things out there for you to focus on. And it's about being present. It's about living presently, Capricorn. And it's about growth, empowerment that comes when you have space to start doing something new. Something extraordinary. Let's have a look and see why you are here. Tell me why Capricorn is in this energy. Well, fuck. Right, okay. We've got the Eight of Cups, the Nine of Wands, and the Page of Wands here, right? Eight of Cups. There it is. We've got the Nine of Wands there. So it is. And we have this Page of Wands too. The Eight of Cups is all about leaving difficult emotions behind. Not difficult emotional situations, because I feel like you've probably extricated yourself from those many, many years ago. This is about the emotional fallout of that which you have taken some care not to have to engage with overly, because you haven't wanted it interfering with your day-to-day business, but also with the goals and the aims that you have set for yourself, right? It's like an absolute refusal to be pulled from the path that you have set for yourself, except that none of that emotional stuff has gone away. It's just sitting there, it's bubbling underneath the surface, and it is the only way to address this, and the only way to properly effect an Eight of Cups is to turn around and face that which is nibbling at your ankles, right? Rejection here in the Four of Cups, which is making another appearance for you. We've got the Nine of Wands, which is a card of boundaries for me, and that's not something that you usually struggle with, Capricorn. But the other meaning of this is that perseverance and resilience. Do you have emotional perseverance and resilience? Or do you just work really hard to fill the void? Because the second way round of doing that will will not bring to you a sense of peace. And I think at this point, although it's not something that you would be comfortable necessarily admitting even to yourself right now, peace is what you want. You're just going about it in a very, very difficult way. The thing is, though, with this here, you have an opportunity, right? The Page of Wands is about a change of direction of some sort. Yeah? It is about preparing to do things differently. It's not about movement for me, not this page. It's about a precursor to movement. It's the ways in which your life is going to change when you allow that to happen. And at the moment, you're holding on too tight. Your energy is frenziedly trying to avoid this. And I just don't think the universe is going to have it anymore. So it's about learning to leave behind those feelings of rejection. It's about understanding that you can work to live or live to work, for the want of a better phrase. But certainly that your struggles have not been in vain. The things that you have experienced have not been in vain. There was a similar sort of message that came up for Aquarius here. I just did Aquarius's reading this morning. This sense of the emotional stuff being kind of wasted time, but it's not. It's given you experience. It's given you wisdom. And you've got a whole heap of it sat in a box there, Capricorn. You've just not quite known what to do with it. And at no point are you just going to have some instructions like posted through your door for you. You have to get this stuff out and look at it and work out what you're going to do with it, because your life is changing direction. It's trying to change direction. Well, no, it is changing direction. You're trying to stop it from changing too much. But there are genuinely exciting things out here if you start to accustom yourself with the idea of peace being something, true peace, not just not having to listen to the chatter of other people, but true internal peace being something that is worthy of your time and care and effort and energy. Let's get you some cards of advice. 3 cards of advice for Capricorn, please. We have 2 there. We have the 2 of Pentacles, we have the Chariot, and we have the 8 of Swords in reverse, right? We have the Queen of Wands there. That's interesting. She's talking about a need for you to be confident that wherever life is taking you now, it is where you are designed to be. So Capricorn can sometimes struggle with a need to control every aspect of their existence. Now, where you have a need to control in an adult, it's usually because at an earlier point they were stuck in a situation where they felt like they had no control. They couldn't influence anything. And, the pendulum swings too far the other way when they get into adulthood. And I think for you, Capricorn, that you're so used to controlling your environment, you're so used to being successful and achieving in a particular sphere, that the thought of going back to basics, from an emotional perspective, or looking at yourself, is something that fills you with abject terror. But you're so capable. Like, you're not just a goat, you're a sea goat. You're literally made for this shit. And where you give yourself the opportunity to do so, you will really fly with this. Get off to a rocky start. There's a lot of very difficult energy with this. Involved in shadow work, and we are talking about shadow work with this Chariot card here. But ultimately it removes the tethers from you. And the tethers are in your own mind, Capricorn. right? We've got the Eight of Swords came up for you. That is mental restriction. That is being stuck. But it came out in the reverse. That's a liberation. Remember that the Fool came out. That is a liberation. Learning to trust yourself is an incredibly liberating experience. Two of Pentacles. Right? It's time to start bringing those two parts of you into alignment, right? There is incredible, successful, high achieving, like super achieving Capricorn, and there is this scared little child Capricorn who's just like shit, no, I don't want to think about that, it's horrible, no, I'll do some work instead because that makes me feel grounded and that makes me feel comfortable, right? There are two characters here depicted on this Two of Pentacles, and I feel like this is you. This is these two sides of you that are being called to come into alignment. And speaking of coming into alignment, we have the Chariot card here, right? It talks of balance, it talks about equilibrium, it talks about the self, more importantly, right? Self-motivation, self-discipline, all of those things, but actually all of the things that make up the self. And for me, this card means shadow work, because what we have is, the two sides of us, the light and the shadow, the night and the day, the fucking good and the bad, for the want of a better phrase there, although I don't think any of us is truly, truly bad. Or all indeed truly, truly good. But the Charioteer is that point of integration between the two beasts, the two sides of us. It is, and that's the point of shadow work, is integration. Those bits of you that you have disavowed, and largely they are the bits of you that don't understand emotion and why people behave the way that they do, or why you make poor decisions when you let your emotions get involved. It's about bringing all of that into you and removing the limitations on your mind, okay? Removing the barriers that stop you exercising in any sort of way your emotional energy. And I'm talking about the deep emotional energy. I'm not talking about you just kind of standard day-to-day stuff. I'm talking about the stuff that really, really bothers you within. Because you are keeping yourself stuck, Capricorn, and that means that you can release yourself. And it seems like you're being called to do that. It's a very, it's profound work, and it's very difficult work, and I can understand, believe it or not, why you would not want to do it. However, I do not think that you are being given a choice in the matter. I think it is rushing headlong towards you. And so it's like, take a deep breath, gird your loins and all that, and turn to face it. Don't let it hit you from behind. All right, Capricorn, know that I love you all very, very much. I'll see you soon.